Your Excellencies, good afternoon, Your Excellencies, President Francis Ricciardione, trustees of the American University of Cairo, dear graduates, class of 2017, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to thank President Ricciardione for asking me to be your keynote speaker at this commencement event. I'm truly honored and humbled to be here at an institution that shares my values of tolerance, diversity, pluralism, and strong, transparent governance. I serve on the board of the trustees of the American University of Beirut, and I know how seriously we take the selection of our commencement speakers. So I truly hope that you will find what I say this afternoon, which will be brief, of some value to you as you start charting the course of your working life. I was born in Syria in the late 50s to a professional middle-class family. My mother was a lawyer. My father was a medical doctor who also served as a member of parliament when we had a fragile democracy in the early 60s. Following the coup that brought the Ba'ath Party to power in 1963, our family moved after my father was sent into a civilized exile as an ambassador, first to Ankara, Turkey, and then to Prague, the Czech Republic, which was Czechoslovakia at the time. We all returned to Syria in 1971 when I completed my high school education in Aleppo, and I had one clear objective, and that was to pursue an engineering degree at the American University of Beirut. I applied and was accepted in 1975, only to see the Lebanese civil war breaking. I returned to engineering school at Aleppo University and later on transferred to the US to graduate with a BSc from Villanova and a master's in civil and urban engineering from the University of Pennsylvania with a major in soil mechanics. I had full financial aid scholarship during my years of education in the US, but my financial aid was from the engineering school, and I was doing an MBA at Wharton at the same time. Unfortunately, I had to return halfway through my MBA at Wharton to work in the Gulf to start earning, partly to support my family. In my early career, I started as a site engineer, carrying out soil testing for a design project to build a highway to an airport in Oman. I took my first job with the primary ambition to save enough money, at the time about $5,000, to return to Wharton to complete my MBA. A week before returning back to the US, I met an Omani businessman who had a heavy transport and haulage business, and he had just secured a contract to build dirt roads or tracks to provide access to drilling locations. It was 1981. I was 23 years old, and it was the beginning of the oil boom in Oman. My recent experience and education came in quite handy because to build these roads economically, it was all around identifying the closest areas, or what we would call borrow pits, to import the soil to build the tracks. I spent a year doing this and living like a nomad in moving camps in the desert. But the project was successful financially, and I made, at the time, tens of thousands of dollars. I was made an offer to stay and build the construction business with a focus on supporting the oil field industry. I kept asking Wharton to delay my return to keep my options open, which they did for 3 consecutive years. But in the end, I was too committed to building a construction business in Oman, and I never did go back to finish my MBA. I became managing director of the business. I was paid on an earnings profit share, which meant for my age, I was making a very good living, which of course was very important to me at the time because I was responsible to supporting my extended family. Over the next 10 years, I led the building of one of the largest construction companies in Oman, building roads, drilling locations, pipelines, flow lines, and production stations. In some ways, it was a very difficult time for me, the physical hardship of spending most of my time on site, the pressures of building a business, and being away from my family. 1983 was a seminal year for me. I lost my father after his fight with cancer. He was just 62 years old, but this left me and the family with almost $300,000 in debt because we had all insisted on getting him the best medical care possible in the US before he eventually was transferred to the American University of Beirut to die. The same year also marked my marriage to my wonderful wife, Sausan, who is here with me this afternoon. According to her and to her family, My marriage is the landmark occasion that changed my fortunes. And I have to admit, this is true. By the time I was 30, I had paid off the debt and made my first $1 million. I was ready to start my own business, which I did in 1991, when I moved to the UK to begin my journey with Petrofac. My story with Petrofac had in fact already started a few years earlier when I had a joint venture with what was then a small Texas-based engineering company to build a production plant and gas processing facilities for an oil field in Oman. Petrofac Inc., the US company, would provide the engineering and the production modules, and my company will carry out the construction work. The joint venture was so successful that I decided to move to the UK and start Petrofac International as a partnership with the US business with focus on international opportunities to deliver turnkey oil and gas infrastructure solutions. Just a few years later, Petrofac International had become part of the much larger than the Texas-based business, and in due course, following a restructuring, everything became part of the same group. We had started our international part of the business with $1 million in capital. We put everything, myself and my partners, on the line, including mortgaging our houses. And over the last quarter century, we've grown the business from literally a startup to one with revenues of around $8 billion, employing 15,000 staff, 5,000 engineers amongst them, working in 30 countries. We're listed on the UK FTSE market. We've listed since 2005, and our market cap peaked at about $9 billion. Today, we're half that with the depression with the depressed oil prices and the challenging environment. But even at this environment, we are about $4.5 billion, and we have paid more than $2 billion in dividend along the way. And yes, we did work in Egypt. We delivered several successful projects, including 2 gas plants in the Western Desert. As I look back, the business success has provided me with the wealth, which is very nice because I know what it means to count pennies and struggle to meet the payroll at the end of the month. But the wealth is not really what I take pride in. Building a business has enabled me and my colleagues to provide career opportunities to many graduates, mainly engineers from the region, with a great career and a future for them and their families. We are one of the very few employers in the region that has a structured graduate employment and development program. The Petrofac Academy program currently recruits several hundred young graduates every year with the aim of fast-tracking their development. I make it a point to have a town hall meeting with all of them in their first year when they're all overwhelmed and shy, facing a new world. And I'm always impressed and incredibly proud to see them a few years later on a site brimming with confidence and perhaps challenging me on a strategic decision that was made by the board. We have proven in Petrofac that Arabs, given the right environment and legal framework, can build a business in a sophisticated and competitive field to the highest standards of governance, where hiring and promotion is strictly based on merit, and where business is conducted to the highest ethical codes of conduct. Finally, building a successful business, has allowed me and my dear wife Sausan to start the Asfari Foundation 10 years ago, to promote the causes that we're truly passionate about, and that is education and building a strong civil society in the region. The Asfari Foundation provides scholarships and educational opportunities for hundreds of students from the region, but especially from my home country, from Syria, and has been active working with the relief and education program for refugees in neighboring countries. We've also worked with and supported many civil society organizations in the region, and we established the Asfari Institute for Civil Society and Citizenship in the American University of Beirut as a regional hub for academics, practitioners, and policymakers to advance effective civil society and promote the concept of citizenship. We passionately believe that future sustained order in the region that will tap its true potential will only be underpinned by strong education, rule of law, and civic institutions. As I look at all of you this afternoon, I remember the beginnings of my journey when I sat in your place 38 years ago. Let me share with you a few thoughts that have worked for me as you embark on your own journey to build your own lives. And there are 5 thoughts. Number 1, it's okay to take a few years to find your ultimate career path. You may try a few things that don't work for you, but once set on a course, focus, because you can't be everything to everyone. Number two, you're now going to a very highly connected and competitive world. And no matter what you do, whether you want to be a journalist or a teacher, an accountant or a businessman, make absolutely sure you're the best you can possibly be in whatever you do. Let excellence in delivery be your motto. Don't settle for being average. 3, know your strengths, and at the same time, know your weaknesses. Build on your strength and work to remedy your weaknesses. It is okay to fail, and it's okay to make mistakes in life, but you should learn from them. In fact, reflecting on my last 3 or 4 decades in working, success have led me to hubris, and failure have shaped me to be what I believe is a better man. 4, don't compromise your values for short-term gains. These values that you learned from your family and through your education at a great institution like the American University of Cairo, the value of respect for others, the importance of diversity and pluralism, the value of behaving ethically and caring deeply about your family, community, and your country. Your values are your guiding compass in life, and you should never cross them. In doing so, you might win a passing battle, but you will lose the war with yourself. And finally, and that is to me the biggest piece of advice, don't believe that there is a big conspiracy out there and that none of us can make a difference. You don't have to be a politician to make a difference. I'm certainly not one. The doctor treating patients and saving lives in Egypt is making a difference. The journalist who's exposing corruption is making a difference. And the lawyer defending basic human rights and the rule of law is making a difference. And the struggling businessman or woman working long, hard hours to support their extended family is making a difference. And every faculty, member of staff at the American University of Cairo is making a great difference. We can all sit by the sideline and let our lives be determined by events and our history be written by others. We can watch or we can participate. We can be spectators or we can be change makers. We have a choice. I have made my choice. Have you made yours? Thank you very much.